Earth, a wondrous ball of life, as beautiful as it is diverse. All across the expanse of our planet, there exist vibrant ecosystems, each one managing temperature, controlling airflow, and conserving energy with remarkable precision. Nature figured this out billions of years ago. We're getting there. The built environment is its own ecosystem, and like any ecosystem, it requires specialists. Some conflicts remain unresolved. But once a year, the species migrates to share knowledge, to sharpen skills, to find their own kind. A gathering of the people who make buildings think. ControlsCon 2026, Building Automation's biggest annual event. 2 days, hundreds of professionals, one resort with absolutely excellent climate control.
All right, welcome to ControlsCon. All right. I'm your ranger, Scott Cochrane. I'm here to take you on your adventure into the great indoors. So we here at Cochrane Supply, we've been hosting ControlsCons for many years now. We like to theme them, and this year's theme is the great indoors. Why? Because us, we're the proprietors of it. We're the ones who make it great. And just like the great outdoors, the great indoors is filled with all sorts of exciting adventures, if you may, right? And what's going on now with the great indoors is and frankly, one of the most, I'll say, crazy times of my 30 years in the industry. We're gonna go on an adventure like we never have. This adventure, is something that's gonna take us into the next 20, 30 years of our careers. And we're at the beginning of it. And what is that, right? You ask yourselves. Well, it's our industry. And what's happened is there's these trends that have taken over. It started with IP controls, right? And then we started doing all the OT network stuff, and that was cool. Started moving data up to the cloud, which is incredible. And now we're attaching AI to it. And that's a checkmate. That's a checkmate. The AI component to the building is going to be there for the rest of our careers. And we are at the very beginning of it. And the coolest thing about AI is what we're going to learn, and we're going to show you this through many presentations by many different people, is that we don't know what's going to happen yet, which is just like the great outdoors. So that's where our theme's coming from. That's what we're here for today. And we're here to guide you through this journey, help you get a good idea what's going on, and hopefully give you some great takeaways to help you grow your businesses. So with that, I think we'll get started. And we'll invite our first guest up to the screen, which is Mr. Jim Young. So Jim Young and I have worked together for many years. Jim is, he's the guy from RealComm IBCon. And when I really, in my career 20 years ago, I ran into Jim, and Jim was over in Japan, and he was showing vending machines that you could pay for with your cell phone 20 years ago. And I'm like, this dude, he's got some interesting perspective on things. And ever since then, I've been following him. Ultimately, got to participate in his conferences. Got to meet many people in the commercial real estate industry through Jim. And it's been an awesome journey, and I'd just like to welcome Jim to the screen. Jim, thank you for joining us today. Jim Young. Everybody, give him a quick hand. Hi, Jim.
How are you, Scott? Can you
Great.
hear me? Can you hear me?
We can, yeah. Loud and clear.
Good to see you.
You too.
As always.
Yeah.
It is a wild ride, as you can imagine. It's funny to hear you talk about the vending machine. That was Singapore, 2004, and that was the first time I saw an IoT device. The device was the vending machine, right? And so, it was actually that trip that really proved to me that every device would ultimately be attached to the network, a standard network, including every building automation system and every building system in general. And so, but you fast forward 20 years, 22 years, and what I'm about to show you, I wasn't even prepared for, given that I dig, holes and follow this stuff. But Our conference theme this year is reset. Play on the words real estate, but the concept is this is not a little change around the edges. This isn't a tweak of your cloud strategy or figuring out how to put another device on the network or what kind of controllers we need. This is a whole new thought process, and I'm going to get into in detail on what is coming. And it's not questionable. It's not theory. This stuff is moving at lightning speed. I'm sure you know. Yeah, it's a crazy time. Some days I'm excited to be in it, and some days I'm scared to death. You tell me when you're ready, and I'll share my presentation. And my goal is to get through this in about 15 minutes or less. And then we got a guest speaker who's going to join me and have a good conversation.
Kick it off, Jim. You got the stage.
Okay. All right. You tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as you can imagine, in planning RealComm and IBCon, intersection of real estate and technology, we could have a million different subjects. But this year, everybody kept pulling us back to the conversation of artificial intelligence. We kept saying, look, there's other stuff. And believe me, we're going to have, 50 different major topics at the conference, on enterprise and smart buildings, but AI is interjecting itself everywhere we go, right? So what I'm going to do is, because AI is dominating everything, I'm going to give you a little bit of history, a little bit of how the real estate industry is doing it. And then I'm going to dive right into your room, your industry, what all of you do for a living, okay? So I'm going to kind of go macro to micro. Here's a quick AI timeline that shows you this stuff was really started to be discovered and discussed in the 50s by guys like Turing and McCarthy and Feigenbaum. And then we started talking, RealComm actually started talking about in 2016. I'm going to show you a photo in a second. You're going to recognize somebody, hopefully. And then from there, we picked up the conversation very quickly after ChatGPT. We came up with the use cases in 2023. We had our first Buildings AI event, which focused on AI for the built environment. And then that conversation continues every year at the conference as well as a separate event. This last year's was in New York City. It's not on this list. And then again, of course, the AI program for this year's conference. So anybody recognize the guy on the far left? Scott?
I think some Tritium people might.
Yeah, that's Nino De Cosmo. He was once the president of Tritium. To my, a much younger Jim Young, to my left, is Anand Yardi, who's the CEO and founder of Yardi. So what I had sitting on that stage was one of the largest building automation companies in the world and one of the largest real estate enterprise. So I had Smart Buildings Enterprise, left and right. The guy to my immediate right just came back from the Korean Go Championship, where Google DeepMind beat the Korean Go champion. And so AI really, we were talking, I asked Anand and Nino, what are you guys planning to do about AI? They both said, hey, who? And the rest is history. We started putting the word AI into all of our decks and our presentations in 2018. And then 2019, this is the corporate real estate map, automation map, if you will. You can see AI circled. We added that in 2019. My point I'm trying to make is, because we're technologists, in addition to building specialists, I follow Microsoft, I follow Google, I follow NVIDIA. That's my other half. And every day, every hour, those companies are playing more and more in our industry. There's Buildings AI I mentioned earlier. So now I'm going to go to what's going on in the industry, what you're reading in the headlines, what your kids are talking about, when they're playing around with Claude or ChatGPT or any of the other LLMs. We are not building data centers anymore. We are building data cities, okay? And if you're not aware of the data center activity going on in the country, take a few minutes and do a little research, go to your favorite LLM, ask for some photos. You will see that a whole new technical infrastructure is being built under your feet as you're sitting here with Scott in Colorado, okay? And these things won't make their way into your world for a few more years, but we're all driving 67 Chevys and they're building 40 to 100-lane highways. They're preparing for faster cars. They're preparing for cars that fly. The point is, you won't get anywhere without the infrastructure, and the infrastructure is being built. The billionaires are being created by virtue of this infrastructure. And let me show that to you in numbers. Actually, let me go here and then I'm gonna go backwards. Okay, so if you think about 2020, we're in a pandemic. This is where we were with data centers. But the thing you got to remember about those data centers is they were stuffed with all the old technology, the cloud, the best of cloud, the state of art for cloud. If you fast forward just 6 years to 2026, look at the sheer number of new data centers, okay? 2020 to 26. But they're not stuffed with the Dell servers and all the old stuff. They're stuffed with this, NVIDIA and NVIDIA's ecosystem. This was Jensen Huang just a month or so ago at their event, NVIDIA's event. That is a screen behind him, by the way, okay? Scott and I always argue who's is bigger. I think Jensen's screen beats us all, okay? But the point is that look at the ecosystem he's building, okay? And if you think that's complicated, anybody understand any of this? I've been in IT and smart buildings for almost 35 plus years. I don't understand what a CSP engine is. Hopefully Ken, when he comes on, will tell me. Storage platforms I get, OSS platforms, proprietary engines, CUDFs. Okay, so this is a whole new language that I guarantee you, each and every one of you at some point in your career, if you're not retiring this year, is going to have to deal with. Okay, and the reason I know that is because there's this little company right here called Palantir, right here. I'm going to show you a little slide about what they're doing in the smart building world. And you said Palantir, smart buildings? We'll get there in a second. Okay, so let me show you some examples of AI in action. Most of you maybe have seen this already. This is no real actors. This is totally AI generated. That set Hollywood on its heels. And if you look at the studio leasing activity in Los Angeles right now, or anywhere for that matter, AI is making a full assault on the movie industry. Okay, so has nothing to do with smart buildings. It's just how this new technology that nobody knew about 3 years ago is disrupting. Okay, these are some use cases we put together about 3 years ago, 2023. After ChatGPT, we got a bunch of people together. We said, throw us your use cases. What do you think AI can affect? And you look at building optimization, you look at building design and construction, workplace optimization. These are all places that touch you. And this is not the end of the discussion. This is the beginning. Energy optimization, all sorts of experiential spaces that are going to be coming. And again, this was 3 years ago. Now, those 3 years ago, those use cases, which were just ideas, they actually have turned into case studies. People doing real stuff. These were the case studies for smart buildings and AI 2 years ago. This year's will blow your minds. Okay, so you can't say, well, AI is kind of coming. No, we will have, I believe, 20 brand new case studies. Words like agentic AI, orchestration, all of these things that are going to, and I'm going to show you in a second how this impacts the building. My point of this slide is to show you this is not theory anymore. This is real life use case or case studies, and they're only getting better and more sophisticated every single day. This was our conference, I think last year, where this gentleman right here, I'm trying to show you examples of how AI is being used in our industry. That person right there on the screen is not real. It's an AI generated image with an LLM on the specifics of one mall. He's about to ask her, where are the men's brown shoes? She will tell them, she will send a map to his phone. AI is coming to malls, retail spaces, office buildings. Does this impact, smart building automation? Probably not. It'll be at the edge, but you're going to start seeing devices like this in the buildings you work in. All right, so now let's get a little smaller. Our little company, RealComm, we were playing around with AI, the last 3 years. We literally ripped, starting in November, December of this year, we ripped our marketing department apart, and we got all the old systems and old methods and processes out. This image was mine that I sent to 3 people. 2 graphic artists with 20 years of experience. You can replace that with a buildings automation engineer. 2 people with 20 years, total combined 40 years of experience. Their designs lost to this one in the lower right to one of our team members who's very proficient in AI. And I had the conversation with the graphic artist that designed this one. She's retiring, so she's not worried, but she said, I get it. She goes, and by the way, the design that we chose, this one cost me $1,200 to produce the test. This one cost us 30 minutes and no cost other than my team member. Okay, so I'm trying to show you how it's impacting other industries and other organizations to understand that we are not going to be able to get away from AI. Okay, for those of you who are technical and kind of snap the grid, this is the process from your first public prompt playing around with ChatGPT all the way to a semi-autonomous organization. Most people are only in steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our AI advisory group is down here in 3. Some are actually even in 5. I'm going to show you in a second what the most advanced ones are doing. But you're not getting to the finish line without going through some, if not all, of these steps. This is how technical it's getting. This is one of our most advanced companies in the real estate industry. They're looking at every business process and breaking it down to flow charts, saying, where is the data? What do we want from the data? How do we protect the data? How do we keep the data updated? How's the data going to interact with other data? We are beyond just hooking up controllers and hopefully they work to understanding every system at that building at a NASA level, at a space shuttle mission level. And if the people in your room, this room, don't want to do that, other people are going to. Okay, so now let's talk about a case study that started in our industry 13 years ago. This was actually 2013. Look at the date up on top. 13 years ago, Microsoft came into the RealComm IBCon world and said, Daryl Smith said, I want to create a city of the future. We got this campus. We're redoing it. We're building new buildings. I want to start something. That was 13 years ago. Daryl turned it over to a gentleman named Emmanuel Daniel. Some of you may know Emmanuel. Emmanuel moved on to the data center group, and we thought Microsoft's journey of 88 acres was dead. Is anybody talking to Microsoft? Anybody do anything? Lo and behold, 3 months ago, it rises from the ashes. Unbeknownst to us, it never stopped. So Microsoft, with all of their technical expertise, OpenAI, all the engineers, the AI engineers they got on campus, they applied those people to all the 88 acres efforts that started in 2013. In about a month or so, just maybe 2 months ago, I started seeing some of the design architecture and the thought process that's going in, okay? Well, that led to this gentleman right here agreeing to speak on our general session stage in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and he is going to show you all, any of you who come, he's going to show you what Microsoft has been working on for 13 years. Their entire global portfolio, I believe it's 350 buildings. They've decimated all the different systems. They've merged data. They've created the data lake. And AI is now actively interacting with engineers, and to some extent on its own, to manage that portfolio. And he said, Jim, forget the last 13 years. We're just at the first inning. Okay, so the message here is a technical powerhouse who's invested heavily in AI, Microsoft, has been working on this for 13 years and is going to show us what they've been doing in about 2.5 weeks. So I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't even seen the whole thing, but it is certainly going to be, and P.S., Microsoft's not going to be selling this and competing with anybody in the room. They're going to be offering their architecture to all sorts of people to take advantage of their AI knowledge, their engineering prowess. So this is not a competitor. This is somebody who wants to cooperate with the industry. Oh, and what about this company we hear in the edges called Palantir? We know they're working with the government and DoD. So right last night before this presentation, I just put in a quick prompt. Has Palantir expressed any interest in smart building infrastructure? The answer is yes. Digital twins, operational infrastructure. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you've ever done any research on the technology that Palantir is bringing to the market, if you haven't, you need to do some research, because this isn't just a tweak of the cloud. This is a reset of an entire IT infrastructure that's 30 years old. Okay, now we're going to come into cyber. I talked about AI. What's the relation with cyber? Scott, maybe a quick show of hands. Give me an idea of the room. How many people are aware of the Mythos announcement about a month ago?
I'd say about 10% of the room, Jim.
Okay, so Mythos is the next iteration of Anthropic's platform. It is so powerful they did not release it. This is their notice that they said to the world. They said, folks, this one's too powerful. It has potential to disrupt society. We're not going to release it to the world. We're only going to release it to 100 organizations we can trust. And it freaked out the world. Within days, headlines like this were popping up. I found more bugs in the last few weeks with Mythos than in the rest of my entire career. Every ransomware actor will be able to find and weaponize bugs without leaving traces. And in full release into the wild, it could unleash untold catastrophe. This isn't hyperbole, it's reality. Okay. Now, we've all heard the fear mongering, and I'm not saying this is that some people say it's an Anthropic marketing ploy. Okay, let's maybe believe some of that is true. But what I do know is Anthropic Claude is incredibly powerful. And if they say this thing shouldn't be released into the wild, I'm going to trust them for now. Okay. Ken, who's going to come on in a minute, sent me this the other day. NIST, our organization that is trying to keep management and control and keep us aware of critical vulnerabilities, they basically, and Ken's going to talk about this a little bit, they gave up. Okay, Ken sent me this just the other day. The exponential growth of critical vulnerabilities starting in 2025 with the use of AI is going to go through the roof, and it will be like whack-a-mole on steroids, and we just can't keep up. Ken's going to hopefully address that a little bit. So last night I said, okay, or actually last week, I just was thinking, and I said, what would happen if Mythos was to target Shodan and all the identified IP addresses in Shodan? Ken or Scott can give me a show of hands. How many people know what Shodan is?
I'd say over 50% of the room.
Okay, good. So this is what ChatGPT said would happen if Mythos
Shodan, just let me reference real quick, Jim. Shodan is a white hacker site that exposes exposed BAS IPs out on the internet, ones that are easily hackable. And that's what Jim's referencing. Go ahead, Jim.
So you got this master new intelligence that's capable of cybersecurity at a level we've never seen. And I say, put it on to Shodan, which is accessible to the public.
Why would you do that, Jim?
Because I'm always thinking,
I don't know what you're thinking, man.
My brain, you know me. I mean,
I know.
When I saw that.
Chaos is what you are. Chaos.
When I saw that stuff in Tokyo in 2004, when we saw on that trip, I said to Dave Clute from Cisco, this is before IPv7. I said, if every device is connected to the network, we're going to need more IPv addresses. So inadvertently, we were arguing for IPv7 in 2004. That's just the way my brain works. I wish, some days I wish I didn't. Okay. So anyway, I said, what would happen? Well, everybody, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let you read it. Okay, hopefully the slower readers are done.
I think Scott, the bolded words stick out for everybody.
Scott, what do you think about that?
Well, So I think it's a business opportunity for everybody in this room because we are faced with a ginormous cybersecurity problem in our industry, and that we've exposed a ton of web servers within building networks to the internet. And it's not our fault, even though we did it, but good news, we can fix it. And it's imperative that you all look at it as an opportunity to help your customers, right? Because that's what
Absolutely.
it is. It's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yep.
I agree. We have waited too long. We haven't taken it serious enough. I hope it's not too late, but at the very least, it is a business opportunity.
Well, now we got AI on our side too, right? The hackers got AI, but so do we. So Jim, the hackers got AI, but so do we. So it's going to be an AI war going forward.
So that's Ken Kurtz. Ken, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera.
Yep, let's do it.
Is the CIO of COPT Defense Properties. In my opinion, Ken is one of the top 3 most sophisticated CIOs in the built environment. He understands buildings. He understands smart buildings. He came from the defense industry, 3-letter agencies. I'm going to let him give a little background. He asked me to speak at the integrator roundtable at RealComm and IBCOM because as an end user, he wants to tell you what's important to him. And I said, well, we can do a little head start with talking to Scott Cochrane's group a couple weeks before RealComm IBCOM. And I emailed Scott and Alicia and they said, bring them on. So with that, Ken, tell me if I'm lying. Tell everybody who you are, and then tell them what you want to hear.
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys this morning. And Scott, first off, I just want to say, one, thank you. But also, if Greg Fitzpatrick does not show up in a Ranger Greg outfit in San Diego, I'm going to be very disappointed.
You know, Ken, you won't be surprised. The only outfit we could get him to wear is a golf outfit, which is suitable for Colorado because there's a lot of golfers here. So
exactly. So no, appreciate it. And again, I would start off by saying I absolutely agree with you. This is a business opportunity for everybody in the room, and a big part of why I wanted to engage with the SI community in San Diego, and I'm happy to be able to do that here with you all at Controls Con. As Jim said, my background, I've been a CIO, a CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer, wearing the title of CTO now. So all of the things with respect to cybersecurity I've been doing for 25 years now, and OT portions of it for the last 10. I think, what I've seen in this evolution really is a need for the integrators in particular to find the tech leadership in the companies and the clients that you're supporting. Because I guarantee you, the folks that you've been working with do not own risk for the company. Right, I get to wear that. The whole reason I can't be out in Denver right now is I had to sit in board committee meetings yesterday. Our board meeting is today. Full board meeting is today, and that's what I get to talk about on a quarterly basis with them and OT and what we're doing. How we're addressing things like Mythos. What are we doing with respect to AI? Is on the shoulders of the tech leadership of your asset owner. Right, and we're the ones that are really both most interested in how that's being addressed, but we also the ones with the deepest pockets, right, and have money and resources to help us find ways to mitigate risk across our portfolios, particularly within that built environment. So as Jim said, we're doing a lot of very cool things with AI on the business side, but much like Microsoft, we're even as a 300 or 430 person company with 25 million square feet, we're headed down a very similar path with the aggregation of that point data juxtaposed with what's in our centralized maintenance management system, leveraging other capabilities with vendors who are out there with you all today. And how do we bring that all together into a common operational picture for how our buildings are performing, how they're secured, how do we get data to our senior decision makers, particularly around where they need to make capital investments, right? Things that are controlled by the controls that are, everyone in this room is responsible for operating, installing, maintaining, and so on. So I would encourage everybody, right, from a company standpoint to step outside your comfort zone. Right, for a lot, any number of reasons that Jim talked about. If you guys want to share a beer out in San Diego, I'm more than happy to talk about the threats against our country, and ultimately it is a little doom and gloom, but our way of life. right? There's an element here with our place in critical infrastructure that we're really responsible for defending defending our way of life for our families, right? And the controls that run and operate these buildings, that may be sitting exposed to the internet that obviously shouldn't be. We need to figure out the best way to fix those and help the folks who are sitting in these assets, continue to operate. And in our case, we have, a lot of defense-oriented folks. We don't want them to be without a building to sit in or a lab to sit in or a data center to work with. When Scott opened up, he mentioned IP, he mentioned cloud, he mentioned AI, sorry. Security is a big part of that. And I mentioned Greg. Greg, I'm sure, is roaming around there somewhere. Greg is the executive director for our Real Estate Cyber Consortium. We are a nonprofit entity. I happen to be the current chair of it that represents north of 13 billion square feet of commercial real estate space. We are focused solely on addressing all these issues, from AI to quantum to controls to OT, IT, cybersecurity for commercial real estate, and work together as a community to do that. I would encourage every integrator in this room, if you are not at least familiar with cloud, edge computing, secure protocol implementation, process monitoring, zero trust, identity management, and AI, your IT folks are. Right, and it's going to take a team effort to come together in that circle of trust. If you go back to Meet the Talkers, to make that all happen.
For sure.
So please be that trusted agent. We all want to work together, but we need to trust each other on both sides of the table to help provide that secure and most importantly resilient environment. Right,
Yeah.
We're not going to defeat every AI attack. We're not going to have perfect defenses, but we need to be resilient and be able to operate through. So I'll pause there. I see Greg came up.
He did, yeah. I'd like to quickly say, Ken, so Greg is the executive director of the Cybersecurity Consortium, which is, Greg, real quick, describe what that is.
It's an organization made up of multiple end users, probably the largest in North America, that focuses on cybersecurity awareness. We've got multiple initiatives and things like that, and along with best practices. And what we're trying to do is make sure we create cyber harmony within the IT and the facilities world. So in other words, learn what the language is when it comes to cyber, learn how to specify cyber and embed it into construction documents, and learn how to deploy cyber solutions.
Okay, that was not quick at all, but thank you for that. Kidding. So Greg also is Cochrane Supply. He is business development for us. He works with consulting engineers, helping them design cybersecurity into their systems. And then, you guys, we have great all the vendors here have a cybersecurity component to them. So I know we didn't focus on cybersecurity the way we should, Ken, but thank you for that. And thank you, Greg, for what you guys do. And yes, we will be vigilant. I promise, Ken. We're on it.
Scott,
I know you are. The OEMs are headed in that direction.
Yep.
We just need the integrators to keep up.
For sure. So,
Scott, can I get
Jim,
30 more seconds?
To close it, yep.
Can I get 30 more seconds?
30 more seconds, please. Thank you.
Okay, so the specific asks, this is not a commercial to get more butts and seats. This is a plea for you to come to San Diego to get into the room with people like Ken. Okay, the IT people in these major real estate organizations want to meet the integrators. Ken is going to be in the integrator roundtable. We've been trying to get the integrators and the IT teams together. How long, Scott? 10 years plus?
At least,
okay.
Yes. Yep. And I'm proud to be hosting the Smart Building Integrator Summit. It'll be on June 2nd at RealComm. And we have an awesome program there.
And the second ask is to please find Greg, okay, and tell him you want to become part of the Real Estate Cyber Consortium, because there's end users, there's manufacturers, but you guys are right in the middle, okay? We are not going to solve the cybersecurity problem without you. We were in New York City about 3 weeks ago for our annual REC meeting. Ken, how many integrators were in the room?
Not many, Benny.
Three or four. So, Greg, you got your work cut out. Get people in that room to understand REC and to become more involved, because this is an entire ecosystem effort, and we cannot do it without you.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ken. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a great conference, guys.
Have a great conference.
Yeah.